So the Vancouver Canucks have the Nashville Predators today. There are a few interesting notes that I think we can acknowledge before we dive into the meat and potatoes of this video. One, Thatcher Demko's getting the start. Yeah, that's right. It's Thatcher the Snatcher after he got robbed of playing the 2024 Stanley Cup Playoff Series against Nashville. Getting the start in Tennessee today against a team that, of course, we recognize the Canucks have had some history with the past few years. And, yeah, I loosely say few years. They played them in the playoffs last year, and then they beat them in 2011 too, so maybe not really the past few years. But anyways, Demko gets the start. Dakota Joshua's back in, which is good to see. Love to see Dak Attack getting back in the sack. And ultimately, I just hope that for Dakota Joshua's sake, he is fully healthy, fully healthy, and able to come back in a capacity like he had last year. We all remember the monster that Dakota Joshua was last season, especially on that line with Connor Garland. Of course, things took a turn for the worse with him getting cancer over the summer, and he has not really been his same self since. We have a lot of leeway on him, of course. We don't want to be too harsh on the guy, but if he does find himself a way to explode in terms of his impact, then I think a lot of people would be happy with that. And we also had ourselves some interesting notes. Noah Juulsen is back in the lineup for DPD. Elias Pettersson is out. Noah Juulsen is in. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about that transaction here? As always, this show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out the first link in the description if you want to save some money in your VPN and get some free months. You'll also be supporting the channel in the process. Anyways, let's get into today's meat and potatoes, because earlier this morning, we had ourselves a video posted by Alex Doherty. Now, Doherty is a Preds beat reporter for the Tennessean, and he went out there and posted a video, a 1 minute and 16-second clip on Twitter of JT Miller's pre-game scrum. And the first thing that I noticed immediately when watching this video is that the camera is like diabolically close to the guy's face. It's so clear here that Doherty was just in the scrum and just pulled out his iPhone. I mean, he even says so right here. Elite camera work. Truly the only thing to bring Miller and Petey together is my ultra-intrusive iPhone skills. Yeah. At least he acknowledges how intrusive it is. Like, just some of these replies are so funny. The dude looks like he slept 4 hours in a week. Leave him alone. What's wrong with you? Why the F is the camera like 3 inches from his face? This seems incredibly invasive. Oh, that's so funny. I'm not saying these commenters don't have a point. The camera is like ridiculously, unnecessarily close to the guy. But it was talked about here, and I did want to dive into it. Even Steve Dangle retweeted the video. If looks could kill, that camera would explode. Of course, referring to JT and his ultra instinct stare into the camera. Yeah, you can just tell that from the images here, it doesn't really look like he's having a good time answering these questions. And ultimately, I wanted to transcribe these comments that he makes because he does talk about Elias Pettersson to some capacity. I used the AI machine to help me transcribe the comments here made by Miller. The interview starts out with a very simple question. Your reaction to Jim Rutherford's comments yesterday or this week on the situation with you and Petey? I don't know. You don't have any comments? No. Is it still all good between you guys? I'm not commenting on this. Okay. You see, this is kind of why I like the AI machine, because it takes all the idiosyncrasies and the extra words and it tosses it in there sometimes too. I had to fix this up a little bit so it looks a tad nicer, but still, this is pretty much what was said. Your reaction to Rutherford's comments, I don't know, I won't comment on it, no, I'm not commenting on this. And Miller says that with a really blunt stare. Then the interview divulges into more regular stuff. So what's this kind of stretch you guys have been on as you're trying to gather points here to get back in the playoff mix? It's a team that you're very familiar with tonight in Nashville. Yeah, Miller says, this is obviously a fun, we've got some history with this team, and just a fun building to play in. So we've been working as a team, trying to bring consistency, more nights than not, and we've had 2 good ones in a row. It'd be nice to, at least put a really good effort tonight and try to get 3. What do you feel like specifically you guys are kind of building on right now in your team? We're breaking the puck out better, Miller says, because we're working as 5. And I think when we're connected, starting in our own end, it allows us to forecheck better and we get more offensive zone time. Given everything, how do you feel about your game right now? Miller says this. I feel like it's been pretty good for the last 2 weeks. Probably, not producing to a familiar rate, but it's like, I'm not like I said a million times, I'm not really, judging my game off of that. I think I'm working really hard and doing a lot of good things. And, I feel like it's been better the last 2 weeks. Yeah, there's a little bit of a stutter there. He's kind of trying to gather his thoughts, and you can tell that he's probably just practiced as well, so... Obviously, we don't expect hockey players to be the most articulate guys, but for Miller to straight up shut down the Elias Pettersson remarks, where he bluntly stares at the camera, at the iPhone, and just says, yeah, I'm not commenting on this, you can tell that there is, at the very least, something there. And it does contrast quite heavily to some of the comments that were made earlier by both Petey and Miller. There was an article published on Sportsnet.ca earlier this morning by Ian McIntyre interviewing Jim Rutherford, and in this article, there are the quotes from back in December. I don't know why people still try to make crap up. Excuse my language, Pettersson said. Miller told reporters a day later, you guys, in a sense of that outer world, have created this thing. Like, this isn't a thing. Apparently it is. Their boss has confirmed for everyone that this is a thing. The biggest thing. Maybe the only thing. And I think, just my own subjective opinion here, based off of the tea leaves, hearing that the rift in the locker room between Pettersson and Miller has gotten so damaging to the team that it's gotten everybody distracted, how it's bleeding into the room. Besser said that all the noise, it was affecting the room. Rutherford said that the players can't focus fully on their own game. They're too caught up in the midst of this. And, of course, when you acknowledge the comments that Tocchet and Quinn made back in December, where they pretty much confirmed that this whole thing was going on, those two said, yeah, okay, it's a thing. We respect these guys. They're professional players. They don't need to play PlayStation together, but they gotta be pros. They gotta go out there and do what they gotta do. And for them, the players, to say, no, there's nothing. It's media, making stuff up. And now Rutherford said, yeah, no, it's a thing. It's the biggest thing. There's been a lot more backlash at both of these guys, and it was even talked about on Donnie and Dolly. This was from yesterday morning. Shame on them for the situation they're in, and for really screwing up this franchise. Ultimately, yeah, you can't really disagree with that, Donnie. These two dudes are multimillionaires who can't get along with the other guy. They both decided that they wanted to play with each other for the next 7 years, and they made that choice, right? Even though there's been a rift that's been going on for years that everybody was not really talking about. The team was winning and they were scoring points last season, at least in the first half of the year. And so, rift be damned, it might have been there, but they were winning, so it's okay. But apparently things have gotten really bad this season. I mean, to end things off, let's go over to a tweet made by Adam Kierszenblat. This was from earlier yesterday, also talking about the same rift situation. At the end of October, Pettersson and Miller got into it at practice. Pettersson slashed Miller's stick before Miller cross-checked Pettersson and called him a baby. The incident ended with Garland having words with Miller. The signs have been there all season. Kierszenblat is replying to a tweet made by Noah Strang. If the Canucks knew about the Miller-Petey tension, the report below from Friedman back in October still baffles me. Why enlist Miller to give a struggling Pettersson tough love if it's a delicate situation? How do you look at the personalities involved and decide that's a good idea? And Noah Strang attaches a quote from Friedman back in October. What I also believe is that they didn't want it to be Rutherford or Allvin or Tocchet to do it. They really believe in their leadership group. Friedman added, I think they said, you guys are the ones that are going to have to do it. Miller's obviously taking that very literally. I think Hughes is involved too. The Canucks see this as it might be better for Pettersson if it comes from his teammates as opposed to the coach or the GM. I think what the Canucks have said to their leadership group is Elias needs to get to another level. You all see it, and we want you guys to get him there. And I think they all see it. They understand it, and they're trying to push him there. I don't think Petey always likes it. I think they're hoping he'll understand that it's to make them win. Back in October, we saw this. And it was like, oh, like, their leadership group, Miller, Hughes, are going to try to motivate Petey to do better. And then it got to a point where Miller was calling Petey a baby and they were cross-checking each other in practice. Yeah, maybe not a good move. Now Miller's talking about this in the media, saying no comment. After all, he said a month ago, no rift. Nothing's going on, right? So, yeah, things are getting spicy today. We'll see what happens against the Nashville Predators. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. We'll make another video talking about Elias Pettersson and trade destinations, because, of course, that's going to be always a juicy topic to dive into. Thoughts in the comment section below about the Canucks. Use ExpressVPN to get some free months in your VPN. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.